Sometimes, when you're married, you stay over at your parents-in-law's house. So there's your answer to this question, now that that's out of the way. First, full disclaimer, for this and the next two videos, Audible and I are besties. Actually, we're besties forever. Forever. No, but really, Audible is being a doll and sponsoring these next few videos, and I am more than happy to collab because Audible and I are besties forever. And in case you're wondering, what the heck are you talking about? Why is your hair so short? Who is Audible? Then you didn't watch my last video. Shame on you. Let me explain. Audible is a website that provides thousands and thousands and thousands of titles of novels, both fiction and non-fiction, whatever's your cup of tea, for a really decent price. Audible is my buddy. They are the peanut butter to my jelly, the cheese to my macaroni. I've come to really, really love audiobooks just recently, and honestly, Audible is the way to go. Fact, Audible is being super cool, and if you go on audible.com/CassJ, you can sign up for both a 30-day free trial and a free audiobook. What up? Audible's your best friend too! So these videos will be the Audible trilogy. I will listen to these books rather than read them, and then review them accordingly like I always do. Audible! This week's theme is a classic. Let me tell you something, as somebody who waited 20 long years to get involved with the Lord of the Rings series, and just because the man who would become my husband said he cries at the end of it, I'm telling you now, you need to get involved in this if you haven't yet. I can't tell you how important it is to delve into these stories right now if you haven't. Right now. Right now. I don't care if it's the books, the movies, the audiobooks, they're all fantastic. Just right now. Right now. What are you even watching this video for? Turn it off. Go, go. Go, go, go. Today, I'm reviewing Fellowship of the Ring. I was going to do the whole trilogy, but who has time for a 10-hour video, right? Well, how about I'm just lazy? There you go. The book follows Frodo, Bilbo's nephew and the only heir to Bag End, as he takes a ring back to Mordor with his buddies, and there's just Sauron and all this evil. You know what? Hold on. Let's back up. First of all, even though I know this is an extremely unpopular opinion, I believe you should read The Hobbit before reading the Lord of the Rings series. The Hobbit will ease you into the magic, the politics, the languages, all the different characters, the history. Whereas Fellowship is gonna kind of throw you under the fantasy bus. The real crime here is that's usually what keeps people from reading the rest of the series. They feel overwhelmed by Tolkien's world. It's a lot of intricate writing, a lot of history. It just kind of scares people away. So if you were scared off by any of these things, I suggest that you read The Hobbit first. So let's back up and begin with The Hobbit. First we have Bilbo Baggins, who lives in Hobbiton of Middle-earth. He doesn't like adventures, he really likes his simple life, and then he's forced into an adventure by the magical wizard Gandalf and a bunch of dwarves, including Thorin Oakenshield, who they go to reclaim his forefathers' treasures that were lost to a dragon, who's in the movie is kind of sexy in a Benedict Cumberbatch playing a dragon sort of way. His name is Smaug. So there's a big battle, and then the treasure is reclaimed, and then Bilbo just feels a lot more whole and just better about his life, knowing that he has made these friendships and he has helped his friends follow their destinies. It's a children's book. It's easy to read and really eases you into Tolkien's writing, Tolkien's world, Tolkien's history. Anyway, back in The Hobbit, Bilbo at some point is in this dark, damp cave, and he has this riddle off with Schmeagol, Gollum, and he steals at a certain point, kind of unknowingly, a magic ring, which actually turns you invisible if you put it on your finger. Or, I guess, maybe any part of you. I don't think it was ever tried. And here's where we start with Fellowship. You know what? I'm not going to give you a long summary of Fellowship. I honestly think that even if you haven't read the books or seen the films, they're so massively popular that people kind of get the gist of what the story's about. But if you've no idea what I'm talking about, I went ahead and I posted a link below of a kind of a spoilerish summary of Fellowship, thanks to SparkNotes. It's basically about finding out how powerful and poisonous this ring is, and trying to take it back to Mordor, the forges from which it was born. Here's what I love about Tolkien. He's incredibly thorough about Middle-earth and the history thereof. If I didn't know any better, I'd think this is a real place. He's got languages, gods, wars, history. It's all written out. Read the Silmarillion. He is not kidding around. Every aspect of this world is written and recorded. It's kind of a breath of fresh air, considering a lot of authors these days kind of like to hide behind their vagueness. It feels like it's almost just to be lazy. And then they claim they're doing it because they want the reader to use their imagination. Now, this works sometimes. I don't know anything about the Hunger Games universe other than something big and bad happened and then somehow the districts just appeared. But in that one special scenario, it doesn't really matter. I'm all for the reader's imagination, but at some point, the author kind of needs to pick up the slack and, do their job. Tolkien carries you the whole way, and all he asks is you enjoy the view. And the writing is so, so beautiful. Tolkien is wonderful. Honestly, he could describe mountains to me for 16 pages, and he does, and it doesn't feel wasteful. It feels like one little puzzle piece to a much bigger, much more beautiful picture. I can see Middle-earth. I can feel Middle-earth. I tend to think there's a difference between wasteful description and thorough storytelling. And honestly, I believe that every little sentence in this book creates something whole and wonderful. Now, as anyone who has had the delight of reading these books, or seeing these movies even, knows, it's the characters that really, really make Fellowship. They bring everything together. Think of it this way, the movies wouldn't be so popular if it were just a bunch of subpar characters running around New Zealand. Not even a fantastic plot can carry that slack. We are introduced to a cast of characters that work so well, that do so well, and contribute so much to the story, to every aspect of the story, that we cry tears of gold. Frodo is probably my favorite. I like Samwise and Merry and Pippin and Boromir and Aragorn and Gandalf as much as the next guy, but Frodo's my jam. What does he have to gain for taking the ring to Mordor? What does he have to gain? Nothing. What does he have to gain from all this shiz he goes through? Nothing. I mean, other than having, peace of mind and stuff, honestly, a big part of the reason why he's taking the ring back to Mordor is just for the good of everyone. He takes that responsibility, places it on his teeny tiny shoulders, and just carries it. And I don't really care that he sometimes becomes affected by the ring for 2.5 seconds. Especially when you've got Boromir becoming the ring's biggest #1 fangirl after 5 minutes of singing it, and then he freaks out. I mean, I guess I'm not being fair, and I'm exaggerating. Boromir is actually awesome. I kind of wish they wouldn't have made him look like such a douche in the movies. He's actually really, really great. I could talk forever about each character, but again, 10-hour video.
Taking the Hobbits to Isengard!
So I want you guys to comment below and tell me who your favorite character is. Even if you've only seen the movies, even if you've only read one book, I don't care. I'm just interested to know what your arguments are. Let me know why. It doesn't have to be a good guy. You can say Sauron's your favorite character, and why is that? Because he's a really good villain. I really want to hear this. This is actually a series that I would like to discuss. And I'd like you guys to discuss amongst yourselves as well, so go ahead and comment below. It's hard to talk about Fellowship alone because just like everything else in this universe, it's kind of like just one little piece to a much bigger puzzle. It all really brings one massive picture to life. Really, the plot and characters and setting are just so fascinating and well thought out and unique in their presentation that I really can't say enough about how much this lives up to its hype. There's a reason why people love Lord of the Rings so much they'll learn Elvish, so much they want to be Aragorn, so much that thousands flock to the sites in New Zealand. This is a world you want to fully immerse yourself in. It is unabashedly just fantasy, and I love that. It owns it. Tolkien is not building up this frilly, fairy fantasy world. This is a real universe that happens to be fantasy, but it feels real. It doesn't feel like it's in this outer realm that we can't touch. I know Lord of the Rings can seem scary and like it's difficult, but at a certain point, it feels like Tolkien is welcoming you home. You don't feel like an outsider to this world. Now, as an audiobook, this was just fantastic. I've already read this book once before, but the audiobook was like the icing on the cake. It honestly just helped me pick up on little details I didn't notice. It helped me understand the story better. It made me love it even more. I listened to the unabridged version by Robert Inglis. He reads the book like I imagine it read, like a wise old storyteller who loves this story specifically. His pacing is perfect and he constructs different voices without any trouble at all. I'll put a link down to the version I listened to because I honestly think it's best. I think the audiobook does something really fantastic to the book. Like the way I feel like I'm sitting next to somebody in a fire and I'm being told this ancient story, but it feels like real history. It feels like it happened. It makes everything feel very alive. I just loved this audiobook and Fellowship and Lord of the Rings and Frodo so much. So yeah, you know, I would start with The Hobbit if you've maybe read this before and it kind of, you know, scared you off. I would maybe start with The Hobbit and then, you know, you might be surprised at how well an audiobook does for this story. Maybe an audiobook is the way to go. The pacing, the way this guy speaks, it's perfect and it helps you understand very well. Ah, Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. Now I want to watch Lord of the Rings. Next up in the trilogy will be a book I've always wanted to read. What book will that be? You'll have to find out in my next video. Sneaky, sneaky.